After a day in the Netherlands, the riders of the Renewi Tour would return to Belgium. A stage including 14 hellingen or hills, plenty of cobbles and some very, very famous climbs. Aalter to Geraardsbergen, finishing at the foot of the Muur after having climbed the famous muur-kapelmuur on 2 occasions. 171 kilometres in total, 1,500 metres of climbing, but some famous names in there on the way. The Edelaarberg, Leeberg and Berendries and 10 Bossen combination, and then 2 laps around Geraardsbergen with a green kilometre on the Bosberg on the final lap. It had been a difficult start to the day, with Lotto Destiny announcing the tragic death of their 22-year-old rider, Theo de Decker. The Belgian had been in a coma since being involved in a training accident last week. Lotto Destiny riders were riding with black armbands, and they were making their way to the front of the race as an initial breakaway came back and different groups started to form. Race leader Josh Tarling caught behind a move of 14 riders. But that all came back together. The Denderode Straat for the penultimate time, and Tim Wellens going crazy. That would mean that going into the Muur for the final time, things would be back together. Into Geraardsbergen they came, a big group. Those who'd just been dropped gaining behind. And Tarling doing a fantastic job to set up the rest of his Ineos Grenadiers teammates to fight it out to try and keep his jersey. Wellens went through the finish line with 1 lap to go and then went straight up the Muur in attack mode. Wright could try and follow, Lompart would be there as well, Zangler and several others to make a big group at the front. Wellens was just ahead of them and started to realise that he had a puncture. That big group of around 8 riders. Wellens with his arm up, but the team car not allowed to be in the gap yet. He headed into the green kilometre at the foot of the Bosberg with significantly reduced pressure in his front tyre. It looked as though it had been sealed by this point, but he could have done with a bike change. On he'd ride though, taking 3 seconds for the first checkpoint. On his way to taking another 3 for the second. But going for the third, Fred Wright overtook him. Wellens though hanging on to take 2 seconds, 8 bonus seconds in total in the green kilometre. He was on his way to being the race leader. Just about staying upright and sitting on at the back of an 8-man group as behind they chased. Jasper Phillips in the points classification trying to get his Alpecin Koenig team in it. And the race leader had been dropped from the peloton by this point. Going into the finale, it became clear that the 7 would just about stay away to take the stage. Mike Turnus attacked for the second time, kept his lead and was there to finish things off. That despite the advancing Tim Wellens coming behind. The UAE man surviving brilliantly. And behind the gaps have been closed. Not too many gaps in fact, however, as Turnus won his first World Tour race since taking the Tour de France yellow jersey in 2019. Tim Wellens did enough to move into the race lead and picked up a second place in as many days. Victory for Intermarché and Mike Turnus, Wellens finishing second. Then it was Zangler, Hirschi, De Lee, Wright and Vermeers. Mohoric leading in the group behind, and Tim Wellens pulling on the leader's jersey, a man who won this overall twice previously in his career. Is leading the general classification, 24 seconds over Yves Lompart, with Florian Vermeers at 26. 2 big stages still to come, one expected to be for the sprinters on stage 4, before a final collection of hills in the Slingeberg in East Belgium coming up on Sunday. A Belgian Tim Wellens in the lead on the day that the nation remembered the late Theo de Decker.